Hello, everyone. My name is Yusuf Sak,
My name is Francisco Fernandez.
and we're presenting our project that is located in the nation's plot. We named it an adaptable bureaucratic building. So, over the course of the semester, we were faced with a lot of challenges, and they came to us in terms of questions. Our first question was how to make a bureaucratic building less bureaucratic, how to make a governmental building less intimidating to the user and the worker. The first one is the site. You notice how beautiful the site is and the least intervention that our design has to be on a site or a building that highlights this site. The second is the weight. This image shows a contrasting uh, weight between two structures, a structure that sits above the ground, that's raised above, that feels so much lighter than a structure that sits on top of it. The third is nature. To design a site that, rather than having the existing conditions of cottonwood trees, we design a building that directs water to it, a building that's built around, a building that maybe highlights these cottonwood trees. Um, so, as non-aesthetic as they look, this image shows these mobile units that is currently located on site. They work. Let's be honest. They do work. They work because of their modular nature. If you need an office, or if you need an extra office, or if you needed to move an office, you add it as a module. You add it as a module unit rather than building an entire structure. And this inspired our design a lot. So we first got our program, which was huge, this conventional building mass. We decided to cut it to create type of a spatial configuration, a modular configuration, and to also cut it in the middle to create this type of pathway in the middle. Now, when you introduce also a second roof on top of this pathway, a roof that blocks the sun, the rain, and also controls the entry of light, sorry, the entry of wind, you have this space that's called an unconditioned space. It's a space where instead of the conditional, intimidating hallway that we find in governmental buildings, it's a space that you feel the cold a bit in a controlled way, of course, that you feel that you smell the soil when it rains. And then how this structure with this unconditioned space and the roof on top, how it reacts now to the existing forces. Where the cottonwoods are, it breaks. You see nature, you feel nature. And then how this unconditioned space now that we're talking about can work in terms of a blank canvas. Now, me and Francisco, we noticed that it will be in service of us if we constrict the user into our own understanding of such a good culture, of such a beautiful culture. So we decided to create a blank canvas. We hand the user a piece of paper rather than a painting for him to paint. And the second question was how to design a changing program and how to adapt to future changes. We got our program at first. There was a lot of uncertainties, a lot of if one office or 20 offices, a lot of this program, this program. So we're like, perfect. We create something that's changeable. So this modules, this 25 by 25 module can work as a training room, or it can work as a 4 5 public offices, or the same thing can become 4 private offices, or it can become a playroom. So it has this adaptability part to it. Now, what if we think about it in terms of future? What if today they need 10 modules, but tomorrow they need less or they need more? So we decided to create this structural grid, and these modules are placed within them. And these modules become assemblies, their own independent assemblies, creating at the end of it, creating a plan. Now, we a lot of our design was used like we experimented using physical models to experiment the structure, to experiment the spaces, to experiment how this unconditioned space feels, how light enters, how the spaces interact with each other, how the structure looks as a user, how the structure also looks when you remove this roof from it.
So this is how the building sits on the side. So it's just a building that it's covered by a roof made out of metal sheets, and this metal sheets breaks based on the interaction with the nature. So this side we can notice there's some existent cottonwood. So the building reacts based on the place of the cottonwoods. Then we made a model just to see how can we do the minimal intervention and see how the community can feel more about the environment of Tuba City. We thought about dividing our program into 2 buildings. The first one will be the public or the less sensitive programs. So it's just a set of assemblies which each contains different programs, and each assembly relates more to the unconditioned space. Then we have the more sensitive program, the private building. It's kind of like the same formula as the public, but it's acts depending on the program. Since it's more private, it feels more secure, more close. Then we have the entry point. So the main entry points from the parking lot located in the north, and then we have the west that goes through the garden, and it's being opened by the existing cottonwoods. And through them, we have the similar circulation that connects with the private. And it on the private, we'll have this security point, so people can feel more comfortable in the building. So then we thought about the slanted roof, so it can feel more natural with the side. Then we did this module so we can feel like how the people will interact with the in-condition and condition space and how it can feel more connected to the site. So our other question was, how can we scale a big program? How can we make it way more smaller? How can we create a solution for it? So we thought about having a set of moments throughout the building. So the first moment that we thought about, it's about reducing the space by using this blank canvas, so users can walk through it and also implement their own art into it, and people or the users can interact with it. So the other one will be a moment where workers have their private moment underneath the metal roof, but also interact with the nature. Then we thought about in the private, this roof will touch the red soil, but also can be work as a seating area, so it feels more connected with the private, but also it has a roof that create another function for the private building. Then we thought about this problem that we have about the juvenile detention center next to our building, but we thought about implementing this roof and set of walls that create a more comfortable space for the families, and they can create more moments between them.
But also letting in the east light into the building.
Then we thought about how can we feel more adaptable in the building. So the first thing that we thought is about how we can raise the building 3 feet, so we did not stop the circulation of water throughout the building. Then we thought about the aerodynamics it's our huge part of our design. So we thought about having this airflow ventilation throughout the building and a stack effect, and how the overhangs let only like the winter light, but also keeping the building cool on the summer.
So this is how it looks in terms of an envelope. It's an envelope that shades, engulfs our structural system. And then our last question was, of course, to wrap it all in, is how to synthesize everything that we went through this semester, all the things that we talked about in one design, a solution, say, how this design can adapt. It adapts to the city's environment. It adapts to its context. It adapts to the vegetation, adapts to nature. It adapts to the user's needs over time. And adaptability was mainly one of our main concerns, and it was a tough word to deal with. So what better way to explain our project than like from an eyes, let's say, of an old worker. Let's call her Ruth. Ruth goes in the morning, while she's driving, she sees this facade of this slanted roof. She sees the diversity of the users that are entering, the workers, the old people, the families, and how they interact with this site that looks, feels like it's connected to the sky and nature. She eats her lunch in this favorite spot in the courtyard. She sees the worker walking past her with vegetation, light coming in. She takes a walk in the central garden around the cottonwood trees, and she sees how different people interact with this site. It is not a governmental building. It is more of a user interactive building with a governmental program. And then you see when she meets a family in that private space that we're talking about, she meets them on soil between walls in a private space. Light is coming in, reflection underneath this metal sheet roof. And she ends her day seeing how all these different diversity of people that we're talking about interact in one space. It's that space where the private building meets the public building, a space where the slanted roof touches the red soil, people sit on it. It's a space where you interact with the cottonwood trees, workers interact with people underneath them. All of this having the backdrop of the San Francisco peaks. And I feel like this space, it highlights our everything that we work towards. It's not a governmental building. It's not a bureaucratic building. Thank you.